Slušate Filmoramu, slavimo 95 godina Radio Beograda, a takođe i 28 godina Međunarodnog festivala etnološkog filma.
The film was shot in Tanzania, East Africa, over the course of 6 years. It's a community I've worked with. I'm an anthropologist and I teach at the University of Michigan. And I've worked in East Africa for 30 years, but I've worked in this Masai area for about almost 10 years. And the film works very well with the theme of the festival, People on the Move, because Masai are pastoralists. They move constantly with their cattle in search of pasture and water, but the film takes a bit of a different trajectory from that because it's about 3 Masai, 1 woman and 2 men, who are both traveling far from home in search of resources and opportunities and strategies to enable them to help preserve and retain their cultural livelihoods. So one is a man who has traveled to the United Nations on multiple occasions as an activist to speak on behalf of the people and the loss of their lands to conservation, especially national parks, and also to agro-industry. Another character, a woman, Evelyn, is the first woman in her whole community to go to university, and she ends up in the United States attending university. And then the third person is a man who remains in Tanzania but comes to the US to learn about educational structures so that he can go home and try to promote education in his community, that more people obtain education and skills that enable them to help support the community. So I am an anthropologist first, but I have been involved in multiple films now, usually because of what we call participatory filmmaking. So the communities I work in know that I have some skill in this regard, and they ask me to help them make a film about something. So in this case, the film was not originally about these 3 individuals. It was about the chairman of the village, Frank Ole Kaipai, and his rite of passage to become an elder. And in the making of that film, it's another film that I finished last year, he asked me to interview his cousin Evelyn. He had just learned about his cousin. He did not know he had a cousin who was educated and teaching as a professional teacher, which was already in and of itself unusual. And these communities have very large families, so they could have 40 people in a family. So he did not know this cousin, but learned about her and asked me to include her in the film. And then one thing led to another, and then I learned how she got educated was through the third person, Adam Ole Mwarabu, who was the man who convinced her father to give back the bride wealth payment of 12 cows and allow her to continue with her education. So these 3 people are very much intertwined. Their stories, one story leads into the next. And so we followed the stories, we followed the people, and the film was produced that way. My co-director, Ron Mulvihill, and I share a goal in using film as a medium through which people can speak to the world their own problems and solutions. And I want to emphasize the solutions because that's what this film is about.